It's tricky. Christopher has the hairline strength, but I think Commander X like looks less like a human spider. So I think like he has maybe the muscle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the UnNUELable podcast. I'm the host today. I'm Matt from the University of Warwick, and I'm joined by two returning guests who can now introduce themselves.
Yep, I'm Spectron. I cast NSE Newell, as well as some other things like Caster Invitational, CGL, stuff like that.
I'm Voltzer. I'm the representative for the University of Southampton, and I'm currently on final offer, although it's subject to change, for OWCS.
And it's a very, very special episode today because we have a very, very special guest, in case you hadn't noticed, with a wonderful background. It's coach, streamer, balanced commentator, because I just see your Twitter. Spilo. Spilo, thanks so much for being here. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Waste of oxygen is useful, but that's usual for me. So doing
There
great.
we go. And thanks for joining, as I've said before we started, the better, UnNUELable, Uncoachable, Unsomethingable podcast.
Well, you guys are under the age of 30, so that's a plus already.
We have some life. We have some life.
We've all got hair here, so.
Yeah, exactly. Hairline diff going on right here.
So, what we're going to do today is it's going to be a bit of a Q&A. We're going to try and go through as many questions, and it's from lots of different people in the university Overwatch scene. We've tried to ask as many as possible. So we'll go straight in to the first question. Here we go. It's from Anonymous. Don't know who it is. It's very simple for you, Spilo. Describe the new patch in 3 words.
I wonder.
Those are 2. One more.
No,
Well,
okay,
okay,
words, words. I'll give him that.
Okay. I wonder what? And it's it's ambiguous. You know what I'm saying?
It was a bit questionable. I gotta say,
interpretation.
The Ash Shadow nerf was a choice.
Yeah, I want you, dude. I saw that. I think that and the did you guys like actually see what like the ledge wall climb thing?
Oh yeah.
Does? So if you actually wall climb, you can't even use like the ledge. You can't even climb up the ledge anymore. It's like I think they intended to do one thing, but it also affected something else, and so it's like it was a little awkward. There's some good stuff in there too, but like I guess my big thing is like how many of these season 9 like breakpoints are we just going to keep reverting? Like where's the line that we draw? So I guess we'll be interested to see where they go moving forward with it, honestly.
Yeah. We actually had a conversation about this, me and Spec, yesterday. I'm a big Hanzo hater, so anything, any Hanzo one.
My favorite part was watching like a lot of the content creators I watch. Their reaction was basically hinging off of where your stance was on Hanzo one shot. Either it was a good patch or a bad patch, and 90% of it revolved around the one shot of Hanzo. So your stance on that pretty much dictated your opinion of the patch.
Yeah, I agree with that one for sure. Okay, now we've got a deep question. The second question is about your coaching. Here we go. So this is from Homeless Coaching, and they ask.
I'm homeless.
Oh, there you go. And they ask, have you been through any rough patches as a coach where you felt that your coaching had stagnated or the players hadn't improved as much as you would have liked? And if so, how did you push through those patches, and what was most beneficial to helping you improve?
Yeah, I mean, rough patches is like it gets to the point where I joke that the rough patches never end, but that eventually even a really stupid person like myself is like, oh, is this another rough patch? I've been through here before. So they stop surprising you. So you're more anticipating the situation. And whenever I've gone through a rough patch before, I've always kind of like reevaluated my process, like how I'm communicating, how I'm working with the players. I spend a lot of time thinking things through, like separated from coaching, whether it's through walking or spending time in the shower, like thinking about like the way that I'm approaching things. I'm exposing myself to new ideas with books that I read, videos that I watch, and things that I'm kind of learning and applying myself to, and always reevaluating my process. And I noticed that like I have to stay on it because even with somebody that has had as much experience as I have had, and at least with people that I know, I have more experience one-on-one coaching more than anybody I know. You still start to like get slack. You still start to get lazy, whether go through the motions. You're like, oh man, that session wasn't as good. I need to go back and really make sure that I'm doing things the right way and or trying new ideas or whatever. But in terms of like the students' results, it's hard to not do this, but you really can't tie your quality as a coach to your students' results, especially if you're like a coach for hire or whatever, because ultimately the student is 95% of the value, really. Like what they do with the session is really their decision. I've had students, a lot of my students, I think, do really well after the session. A lot of ranking up and feeling good about the game and a healthy relationship with the competitive grind and stuff like that. But I've also had students where, we've worked through several sessions, but the mental block that they have not been able to work through, not necessarily, it's usually not in regards to like an understanding of strategy. It's usually their relationship with the game or relationship with practice or their ability to focus or whatever else. You can't work through that. And honestly, for lack of a better analogy, it's like having a therapist working with like a really, really tough basket case, and like, oh man, I didn't fix them. It's like, there's only so much that you can do. It's really a lot of the responsibilities on their shoulders, and sometimes it's just not fixable. And for some students, that's just kind of been the case. Rarely is it with game knowledge. I think as a coach, you should always have a solution or the solution in terms of game knowledge and how you communicate it. But for like individual player issues, like some players just can't be fixed. In the same way that as a team coach, a couple of times I've had to let go players, not because I couldn't fix them, that they weren't fixable, but that they were not working in that situation. And so oftentimes them getting kicked out or them failing is kind of like what they needed, the kick in the pants. But yeah, your students' rank is really not a reflection of your quality as a coach.
Yeah, I do a bit of coaching for my university, and it does feel like what you're saying is true. Like, eventually you'll go through so many sessions with them, and they'll improve in so many ways, and then you hit a roadblock, and it's something that you can't just give them the answer to. It's one of these mental issues. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even in terms of game understanding, like there's a reason why whenever I do sessions, I pretty much I really actively discourage anybody from getting weekly or even bi-weekly coaching sessions, like every 2 weeks. It's like, I don't want to see you for a month. I really don't, because I want you to take the information that I had and then you need to go figure it out and develop your own system and way of understanding. And then we'll reevaluate in 6-7 weeks once you've sorted some things out, or maybe you've improved or struggled or come up with new questions and whatever. Because I just don't think there are any successful players in Overwatch, OWCS or whatever, that have been basically carried by their coach. That just doesn't exist. It's like players have to learn to be self-sufficient, and if they can't, then they're not going to succeed. It's that simple.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. And the next question is from me. It's probably very obvious it's from me. What are your thoughts on console players? Do you think they should be allowed to play alongside PC players in tournaments such as OWCS? And how good do you think a console team would end up being?
So let's put it this way. Every time I shake a console player's hand, I'm immediately looking for a hand sanitizer. But I guess in terms of tournaments, so I've worked with a lot of console players. I work with console players like every week. That's just kind of been the case for years. I think console players as a whole are generally more casual, but the ceiling of and that's where we're at, right? Like the ceiling of console players, like there are some really, I mean, didn't J3 do a tournament, right? With like a really top level console team, and they did really, really good. I think the problem with console player is always the competitive integrity is just, honestly, it's just not a problem that you can ever resolve for a professional tournament scene. That is, I guess, omniplatformed, right? Like with both PC and controller, because first off, like I know they've done a lot of work with zimming, but that's always like, what are the advancements with zimming and like how are you going to be able to protect that? But then also just like the aim assist side of things, like it's really, really awkward. And it's also not always super consistent. I don't have a lot of experience with console, but I do little things like echo stickies like really are like noticeably easier to land with console, and just like a lot of other things like that I feel like it's hard to balance around. I just feel like it's really, really hard to balance around, and I don't know that there's ever going to be a world where like I would ever support like having an actual proper tournament that includes both console and PC, because it's just too blurry of a line of like what competitive advantage is balanced to compensate for the console's disadvantages.
Yeah. I think also with as someone with experience casting both like console gaming league and you yourself, Matt, I think that the ceiling is like quite high at the end of the day, like mechanics isn't everything in Overwatch, but also I feel like it gets to a point where you just can't shoot harder.
It's just competitive integrity.
But I think the competitive integrity issue is like a huge one, yeah, in terms of actually having them play together.
Yeah, I think I agree overall. I think, look, I'll be honest, there's a reason I play hit scan. There's a reason I don't play. I mean, you say about projectile for echo.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at the game. I'm not sure. But I would say I can only play hit scan because hit scan is
Yeah.
just the thing that takes advantage of the aim assist the most.
Right.
And there's a reason I played that. I think from my perspective, I think the skill floor is very much raised higher. I think the skill ceiling is high. I don't think it's anywhere near as high as you can possibly get on PC. I think you think about the small things like the FOV, like the frame rate,
Yeah.
like being able to even turn around in a circle is just awful.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and then there are painful things like that. But I get the frustration of people.
Yeah.
I just wish there was one chance. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see one
Yeah.
opportunity because, I mean, I don't know. I would say that console players wouldn't really reach anywhere near the very top of OWCS, and you'd never see a console player overtaking a PC player on one of the top teams ever. And that's just a limitation of the console. But I get at the
Right.
same time the competitive integrity. I get it.
Yeah, for me, it really is just the competitive integrity because, like maybe there is a great team, maybe they would overperform, maybe the ceiling of console is crazy. Like I think that's perfectly possible. I just don't know if I want to see that team play with aim assist because that advantage like is so hard to balance around.
Yeah. Okay. I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Okay. I feel really serious. Let's do something fun. Okay. Here we go. This is a question from Totodile. In case you couldn't guess from the question, which Pokemon water starter is the best?
Oh man, this one's tricky. I feel like I'm objectively wrong with this one, as objective as you can be with Pokemon. But the problem is that I'm like so freaking old that I have like my childhood nostalgia ruins it for me. I was a Squirtle fan as a kid, like Squirtle,
Wow.
Wartortle, Blastoise. I don't think necessarily he's as cool as some of the water starters that were later on, and I'm not. But frankly, I'm not as familiar with him. And man, something about Hydro Pump, man, just like all those based are those kids that thought they were based for the Charizard, like the actual betas of the community. It's like real men, real 8-year-old men loved Blastoise, is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's my take on things. But I feel like I'm like just totally wrong. Like there's probably a water star is better, but I can't remember what they were. So
I'm an Oshawott guy
know.
myself. I feel like the evolutions are sick. I feel like the samurai vibe is sick.
wait, who?
Oshawott.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Pokemon Black, I think. But also because it's the one I grew up on, which I feel like it's going to be everyone's answer.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's Froakie for me, but that's just
Yeah,
because
I was
it's
gonna
wrong.
say that's got to be the basic answer, right? Like Greninja is way
wait.
too cool.
Pokemon water starters list. See, I'm gonna give you guys the objective list. Here we go. Let's go. Wait, frick, man, where are they? Every water type starter ranked. Okay, here we go. Sobble.
Sobble's not
Wait.
great.
I don't know half these Pokemon, man.
Man, I
You gotta
don't
get
either. Wait.
I think
It's
Pokemon's
okay.
better.
Are we getting old, guys?
Ooh, Oshawott is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I respect Oshawott. I like Oshawott. Yeah. I can roll with that. I can roll with that. That one's like the best. That one's really good, actually. Totodile, I feel like that one's like another like nostalgia one. I like that. I remember that one for Alligator. Yeah. Hoplio. This thing looks like a anime personified. Ugh.
Yeah.
No. It's just like a Dratini but worse. Greninja. Oh, that was a popular one. Yeah, I know that one. And Quax. Did somebody say Quaxley?
Oh, I even forgot that existed.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
same.
Okay, honestly, that is nightmare fuel. And this thing is ranked number 3 on this list I found. That is
The
the
objective
stupidest
list.
looking thing. Dude, it looks like Donald Duck had a haircut. Like, what the heck? And then Piplup. Which one of you guys said Pip? Did you guys say Piplup?
I think anyone said Piplup.
Empoleon's pretty cool.
Empoleon's okay. He just looks like a penguin on steroids. Oh, and there's Mudkip. Yeah, Mudkip, I guess, is kind of classic. I guess Mudkip's pretty good. The Greninja's pretty good. Totodile's all right. I really like Oshawott, I think. I actually think that's such a good choice.
Let's go.
Well, Totodile, if you're watching, Totodile's all right. You're all right. There you go.
You're all right. Yeah, you're all right.
Okay. Let's go back to Overwatch.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's get put a bit of a focus on, University Overwatch, as this is a University Overwatch podcast.
All right.
Right, so obviously you've got some experience with NSE Newell. Can you elaborate on what that was, and kind of what did you think of the level of play?
With Warwick,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I coached you guys once, and it was miserable because it was Meta 1 and the Symmetra OTP Route 66 Symmetra Roadhog. No, I'm joking. It was actually like such a blast. I still remember the VOD review. I think I actually made a video about it because it was like the most off-meta nonsense bull video I think I've ever done. But I think, but one of the big things we talked about in the video was like chaos and like basically going into an ult disadvantage. How do you approach those fights? Like, do you play fair or do you like do something really stupid? And obviously, the answer is do something really stupid. And that just so happened to be something that the team was really, really good at. So it was fun. And obviously, like the Cager connection is great. He's a good guy. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like in the Newell, in the know, get it. But I've worked with you guys for a little bit. That was criminal. Sorry.
That was really
yeah,
bad.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah, I remember. I think I've only got to cast Meta 1 a couple times during Epic LAN. I just remember being so mad about how he plays all the time. It was like Junkrat flanks on Junkrat flanks. There was so much Symmetra stupidity. There was also the Matt Murray beef, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Meta 1 is I think Meta 1 is just a great example of like how brain rot is just universal. Because Meta 1 just like, you could tell that he doesn't just like Symmetra. He likes things that are weird. Like he made a video about Lifeweaver as well. Yeah. And you're like, he's just doing this just because he hates humanity. And he really wants to cause other people to be pained and hurt. And I think like that's just I know every sim player I know is like that. Myself included.
We've so it was Rosden and Meta. So this was before me. And now they have both graduated. So we're left with a Doomfist one trick instead. So we still have some quirks.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's still chaos.
Yeah, but the chaos fights that you mentioned, that is still a call that we make today. Like every time there's a fight when we're down, also it's not even me. It's like it's Keydog or Kai. He was what part of the team I think back then maybe, but he still calls for the chaos fight. So it's trickled through. It's trickled through.
Good. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, I think next up on the questioning then is, did you hear about the proxy war, as we call it here, at all? Have you heard about this?
No, it just seems like UK always has a problem with like colonization and war and infighting and like.
So this is infighting.
I think that's just the European curse.
This is infighting. This is where I think Commander X and Christopher both were coaching rival UK uni teams. I think you know a little bit more about this, Matt. So do you want to go into detail?
Yeah. So the Oxford Omnics, who are the team for the University of Oxford, they decided to get Commander X to coach them for the finals.
The stupidest thing they could have possibly done.
Well, I would agree. So we decided to get Christopher to coach us as a sort of retaliation. And then ultimately we won the finals 4-2, and then we did a second final 4-0. So yeah, the idea is that we proved that Christopher's coaching is just superior to Commander X. It's definitely not the teams; it was completely the coaching.
I hate both of them equally. It's tricky. Christopher has the hairline strength, but I think Commander X like looks less like a human spider. So I think like he has maybe the muscle definition diff. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to say. Commander X did slap up, and we did the whole Fit Gamer stuff with London Spitfire in 2021. He was pretty fit for a man his age, which is rapidly approaching his 60s. But Christopher, I know he runs a lot, so maybe actually I might be wrong on that one. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, I've just said all this nasty stuff, but now I really hope I never meet them because I would literally die like instantly. There's no way I'm beating up Commander X. But yeah, that's why we're online, right? I can say all this stuff, surely.
Yeah, that's right. I've realized that it just gives you total absolution from any real life consequences.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay.
I've got a.
Oh no, you say Volta.
Yeah, I've got a question from Zara and Commander X. Not Commander X, don't get mistaken. About them being a new player who's coming into Newell. They've seen loads of your videos, Spilo, and they'd like to ask, what are the fundamentals of team play that Newell teams should be focusing on, considering that many of them are not highly ranked, and you get this mismatch, sort of?
Yeah, I think I had this question actually in my DMs a few days ago with some guy, a friend of mine who was recently getting into coaching. And basically, if you've watched any of my team coaching videos, a lot of them follow a pretty predictable pattern. There's a little bit of tension about what to play, how often they're scrimmaging, what to working on. The basics of like initial team play really comes down to what are the compositions that we want to practice? What are our goals for communication? And almost always it revolves on having some sort of basic planning structure. Everyone always obsesses with, like, especially newer players, like target calling. Like everyone's like, oh, we never focus the same target, but it's almost always like a serious like lack of planning or ult tracking. And then like not really having, like I said, any sort of strategy, but like what compositions are we experimenting with, or what compositions are we trying to improve at? A lot of teams just pick random crap. Counter swap habits kick in. No real, like, they'll end up playing like 6 or 7 different heroes, especially the tank players. This happens a lot. And so what ends up happening is like the practice quality is a big mess. So I'm always like, hey, at least for the next 3 weeks, what do you guys like? We need to settle down on like what compositions we want to be practicing and try to like carry that over. And then like let's also have like a very, very basic planning structure. And everyone's always like, is it better to have like a democratic thing or a one-shot caller and fight plan? I'm like, you guys figure it out. Like if I'm telling you the objectively correct answer, I'll tell it to you. But for those newer players, it doesn't really matter. We need to have some sort of a structure. And honestly, that's it. That's really it. And the only other thing I'd say is in terms of like the team environment is you need to have like a consistent scrimmage schedule, even if it's just once a week. But we need to be there. Everybody's there. No subs, none of that crap. Show up, scrimmage, go home, have fun, right? Whether that's twice a week, once a week, whatever. I think if you could check those 3 boxes, you're in a pretty good position to like maybe not improve dramatically, but like you're putting yourself in a good position to improve over time.
Do you think it changes when you have teams, like certain teams at university might have a few GM players, for example, but then you might have some plat players on the same team, right? So how do you balance in those situations? How do you sort of try and focus on teams where you're maximizing the potential of your GM players? Are you looking to try and keep the team focused as a whole? What would you do in that situation?
So generally, like the problems with that are like much more social than they are like gameplay centered, because everyone focuses on like, oh, how do you play around that? But ultimately, like the comps pretty much function the same. You just have lower expectations of that one piece performing, and generally that just leads to like more frustration, like more like psychological tension than anything else. I know a lot of teams that like they'll pivot their GM player to the carry role, and like that can work, and like it's whatever. But I think for me, it's more about like having conversations about like, hey, like what are the goals of our platinum players? How can we keep the environment fun for them to train? What is a good and productive, non-condescending way for my GM players to provide feedback for platinum players? Are my platinum players looking to be platinum players, or are they looking to be diamond players, right? Because a lot of teams, the environment will kind of like not force, but kind of put a lot of pressure on the platinum players to be better. And a lot of times those plat players just don't really want to be better. Like they play a couple games a week and they're chilling the scrims, and that's pretty much it. So it's like I just having like a transparency of like what the players' goals are, what they want to do. And then again, going back to, okay, if this is what we're dealt with, what can we build out of these pieces? Like we have a GM player that's really good in hit scan. We have a Reinhardt platinum one trick, right? Like, okay, so then let's make sure that we keep him on Reinhardt, and let's try to build what can we do to complement that. And I think that's really it. Like it's a lot, obviously, like a lot more complicated in those situations, but I think it's just like about simplifying the process as much as you possibly can. And I do think that like even with those teams, like just I noticed that like the funny thing is that like gold to grandmaster, because I've worked with gold teams, I've worked with bronze teams, I worked with 2 bronze console teams. The communication between bronze console and grandmaster, almost, I would not tier 3, but like I would say like GM1, the communication gap, like the quality of the communication is actually not that big. I don't know my experience. It's really not that big. Now the gameplay quality is incredibly different, right? Even the coordination just by having a general concept of the game, but like the fight planning, ult tracking, bronze teams understand that stuff's important, and sometimes they even try to do it. But like I would say like it's more about like how bad communication is for so many teams, even at the higher level. Like this isn't really a leak, but like a lot of Overwatch League teams have really, really bad communicational structure because it's hard. It's really boring is why it's hard. It's really, really boring. To ult track, basic fight plan. Everyone wants to do like, how do you play the comp? How do you play the meta? What's the right angle? What's the right use of the CD? It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. You don't even have a basic push pull. You don't even have a basic setup. So I'm kind of going off tangent here, but yeah, long story short is that like fight planning is everything. Like it's everything, and like even with mixed SR teams, like a GM player probably has something to learn in terms of fight planning and probably responsibility in that regard.
Yeah, I can definitely kind of follow on from that by saying that when I'm working with my own team, then the thing we just talk about most is like getting an actual comm structure, because for the most part we've got relatively strong players, but we just go into a fight with nothing said. So after every game, it's like, guys, we need to talk, we need to get our ult track, we need to get our fight plan, and it just feels like it never sticks, because I guess it's, as you said, it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, it is boring. You have to have like a player that's like their strong identity, or players preferably, whose strong identity is their communication and their leadership. I think like one of those examples always for me has been like Hadi, right? Was really, really strong at that and like kind of shifted the culture around that. And even like compositional specific, like when we were playing 2022 Soldier May comps, like the Ryan May stuff versus the type. One thing that I worked really hard on more than I think any other aspect with Sparker was like smoke some crack, take a flank, and tell us what's going on. And so everything was about what's the flank and talk to us, like keep us updated constantly, right? And so Sparker, who's a relatively reserved guy, was like really chatty in that meta because he understood the responsibility that he had. And I think that was like one of the reasons we did as well as we did.
Yeah. And as well, just to add briefly, like when you are a university player and you are joining a team that is so mixed as well, you get better. Like if you're playing, like if you want to as well, but if you're playing with people who are of potentially a higher skill or have been more experienced in the game, you are just going to get better with time. Like I know many people at Warwick who, including myself, who may not have been of as such higher rank, but then just improved over years or months even. It's just giving yourself the time and embracing it at the very least.
I've even seen teams with like cogs of lower ranked players that like fit into the machine as even like a diamond player in a GM team, but they're like communicational synergies, like listening, the value they provide is like at a GM level, right? Even though their mechanics aren't that good. Like they go into ranked and they sucked. But within that machine, they serve a really important purpose. And we even see that in Overwatch. Like I don't want to name any names, but there's some teams, players playing right now, and there's some players historically in Overwatch League who are really not that good mechanically, but they are just really important parts of their team's culture, inside and outside of the game.
Yeah, to touch on the listening, it's just I found it so unbelievably important to have people that are more good listeners than good thinkers. If you have 5 thinkers and no listeners, nothing happens. If you've got
That's the European region as a whole, basically, is what it is.
1 or 2
Everyone's a genius.
thinkers, 3, 4 listeners, that's way better.
Better than North America because we don't have 5 thinkers, we don't have 5 listeners, we just have 5 talkers.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that, Volt. So I think we definitely had a lot of fights when we were first getting started, which just ended up being trolled because we spent so long arguing about our fight plan beforehand.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really matter as long as we're doing something together.
Anything.
Right. Well, the thing is, it's like, well, the thing is, it's like people also need to understand, like, in the integrity of testing to find out what is good, you have to be willing to commit to somebody else's idea. And then if it sucks, okay, well, then we actually learn. But if the problem is that we don't learn anything because we never really try something because everyone's trying in different directions, then neither side has really proven anything. Like, we've not learned anything, really. So.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on then.
Sure.
Let's go to some like comparisons between like US collegiate and obviously UK uni here.
Sure.
So obviously collegiate culture is like an American-centric phenomenon with like the kind of investment that you guys have in not just esports obviously, but like football, other sports. With that in mind, how do you think like the kind of European and UK scene specifically can like grow and expand without that kind of level of investment?
I just think that like good recognizes good, really. Like I think the best way to look about it is like kind of like learn from what Overwatch League did poorly, which was like, hey, this could be big. Let's artificially just inject like millions of dollars into it and see what happens. In a lot of ways, that can like really permanently damage the value of the product, right? So yeah, Overwatch League was great for a while, but was it the right thing for the longevity of the esport? I don't know, potentially not. And I think you guys are kind of in that same situation right now where it's like, yeah, you don't have the resources, but that doesn't necessarily, or the same amount of resources doesn't necessarily mean that you can't organically create a quality product. Now, I'm not an expert within the esport region of the European region within collegiate, but I would say that like a lack of resources doesn't mean it's not possible. I mean, I was sitting here with my project manager. He's over here, and we were watching some freaking Super Smash Brothers documentary from like 2004, and these guys are like at these 50-pound monitors set up in some like church basement. You know what I'm saying, for these tournaments. You know, and it's like, dude, if the game was good and the community was good, you found a way, and it grew from there. And I think that's probably like the same situation that you guys are probably in. If it's good, if the competition is good, the banter is good, the personality is good, the game is good, you know, life finds a way, I guess. So, you know, I guess just recognizing your limitations and not really worrying about it as much.
Yeah,
Easier
I
said
like
than
the I like the qualification if the game is good. That's the real question. Is the game good?
yeah, no pro player
Mm.
likes the game. That's just the rule to be a pro player. That's the real irony.
Yeah, I mean, for me at the moment, I kind of hate the game, but that's fine.
What
As
role do
long
you
as
play?
I can actually play a hit scan and not have stealth nerfs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I was
Uh,
gonna say Hitscan's not doing so hot so right now. So
no, I have no fun. I have no fun.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think we try our best. I think it's not just yes, there is an NSC and Newell, and I think they do a great job overall. But I think recently, anyway, there has been more growth, at least from my perspective, of external tournaments, people just trying to make it a better community.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah.
maybe that's the start, right? There's still a lot of time to go, but we're getting somewhere at the very least.
I mean, I suppose like stuff like this as well, just like doing more things as a community rather than just like playing NSC Newell and then going home. Like that's kind of what we got to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
sure.
keep growing. Okay, I think are we near? I think we're sort of near a final question here, at least for now. Spec, have you got any more that you want to ask?
Yeah, I'll tack on one of my own.
Go
So
on.
with kind of US collegiate culture, it's a lot easier to attract people to a university based solely on their like team, or to a college based solely on their team, or what they kind of can offer with regards to scholarships, whatever. Here we don't have that. So it can be very, very just luck based on what kind of players you end up getting. So my question to you is, how much do you think it matters just like rolling really good players versus putting in hard work to improve as a team?
I mean, I think that the key thing is like what make the players good in the first place. And I think a lot of the time, like it's really easy to kind of just say like, oh, they're just talented and they're just like really good. But you guys all play the game a lot. You guys know that talent really doesn't exist that much. I always looked at talent as like two ways. Talent is either opportunity or talent is having brain rot enough to where you just really like playing Overwatch all day long. So like if when you say putting in hard work as a team and like putting in the time, if that's a process that's like relatively rewarding and enjoyable for the team that you're working with, then I think like the sky is your limit, really. The challenging part is like when that does become like if it feels like or becomes a grind, then it really does become almost like a ticking time bomb, right? I mean, it's a little bit dramatic where it's like you can really push really hard and grind really really hard, but if it is difficult, not fun, not engaging, it's really only so far you can go before it becomes like that's kind of you kind of hit your ceiling with the players that you've worked with. Like I've worked with players and like we've established like a really tough training schedule and a tough work culture and yada yada yada. But if the players weren't like enjoying that and weren't like fully bought into that, then it just wasn't going to really work super well with a team. So I think like you could definitely improve a lot as a unit. You could definitely improve a lot as a team, but it's easiest to do that when you have all the player pieces of that team that are actually enjoying that process and doing well with that process. And so I really think it's a case by case basis. If you have like let's say a bunch of Masters players that are on the rise, right? Like they've just picked up the game like a year ago and they love it and they're grinding it. Like I think you got a lot of potential with that. But if you've guys that have been GM5 Masters 1 since 2018 and they like the game. They kind of take breaks here and there. Like I think like you can have like a really cool, sexy structure that you spend a lot of hours putting time into in a VOD, review, and you may not get anywhere just because those players just don't have the same level of motivation. So it really depends on the motivation, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as well, like for people who are trying to organize their university teams, or even students who want to get involved,
Yeah.
you got to find out what's right for your own team, right? Like it's gonna be
Right,
different. Like some teams just want to play for fun, and that's great, and
Yeah,
then some
yeah.
teams might not. So I think it's case by case. Just try and find that balance realistically.
I agree. When I was working with, I mean, guess most recently Overwatch, you know, with like Custa and J3 and Emong, there was like a lot of people that were like, most of it was like teasing, but like, man, why are you guys like not? Why are you guys like you guys didn't quite finish top 16? Like you guys went like 7-3. Like I'm like, guys, they're streamers. You're only VOD reviewing them like once. I'm like, dude, they don't want a VOD review. They just want to play their game. They just want to play the game and like do funny bronze to, you know, spot the bronze. You know what I'm saying? Like I reached out, we had the opportunity, and I did a couple of VOD reviews with them, but that was because they were interested in doing it. And it's like, you know, obviously that was more of a content first team, but like I think people have like this imagination of like, if you put Spilo with a bronze team, they'd be all BGM in a week. You know, it's like no way. I would find one player that is like really like really wants to improve and really enjoys improvement and get him to like gold, you know, in like a couple months, you know, and probably the other players would stay bronze. You know, like, you know, again, we talked about this at the start of the review. The only thing that you could really do as a coach is to motivate people, is to make training fun. I think that's the best motivation, or make a cult. Like if you could remove toxic elements of the culture that might have been there before, right? That's like the best thing that you can do to make training fun. But unless you're like paying players, unless you're like in the Overwatch League, whatever, and setting structure, setting systems, and then, but even then, you still have to make it like feel like it's worth their time. There's not really you can do to make people play or train or focus or try. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, Matt and Volta, but for us, we try and like actually build some sort of like culture, so people want to like play and want to be friends. So
Yeah.
we do like lots of like, activities as a team. We've been trying to organize a social where we all binge watch the June films for God knows how long. We try and like go like hire a room in the library so we can go in and VOD review in person. So it's a bit more entertaining than just sitting in Disco Cool
It's
and
way
listening
better.
to me like
Way better.
yap. Just like stuff to make it feel like a bit more like a thing rather than just like a commitment is really, really useful.
Yeah.
Way better.
I've found, as I've had the rep position for about 2.5 years at my uni, as time goes on and on and on, it's just, you realize more and more, it's just all about making friendship groups, and
It is.
doesn't matter so much what else you do.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, this reminds me of what was that movie I was watching recently? Top Gun Maverick.
Oh god, that
You know
film's
where
so
they're
good.
like none of them get on or whatever, and they're all fighting who's the best. And then they play that. Is it what are they playing? American football.
They play
You
beach
know?
volleyball.
Yeah.
I swear they
I
were
don't
playing
know.
Maverick,
It's on the beach or
yeah.
something. I skipped the scene. It's the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. But yes, it is. It's an intentionally cringe, but yeah, it's like bonding or whatever. Absolutely having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then suddenly they can blow up a, I don't know, nuclear anyway.
Right.
Doesn't really
And all of a sudden capitalism wins. So exactly.
There we go.
All right, moving on to what might be our last question. Do
Okay.
you think Blizzard should set up a European collegiate league and support that?
Well, I mean, this is like a trick question. I don't know anything about like the financial return on investments or the optics or the. I mean, you can't look at it as just like a financial ROI. That's a super cynical and short-sighted way of looking at it, right? Because when you build a healthy esports culture, you build a healthy game, and you encourage people to stick in the game for a long time. But then obviously I'm talking to you yappers, so yes, I think in fact they should go to Bobby Kotick's house, beg him to just sell all of his property, go into extreme poverty, just to personally fund a multi-billion-dollar EU OWSCS equivalent, essentially.
I'm liking the sound
for
of
just
this.
collegiate. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that
this
can
is
do
the
it.
least he deserves.
Maybe
like-
we need some dirt on Bobby Kotick because he's a billionaire. There's got to be some dirt. Maybe you guys could work on that. That's your assignment. Maybe the next UnNUELable podcast will be working on that.
I'm sure there's a few things that I can think of already that we can note
Maybe.
We can
down.
mention.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
Okay,
I've got one
let-
more.
do-
And
you
then
wanna do
let's
one?
and then let's go to the quiz. Okay, so obviously it's a lot less common here to have like any sort of support staff. People just kind of want to play. But how important do you think it would be for teams to get like a dedicated manager or coach, even if they're maybe not fantastic? Do you think that would like improve, or do you think players just kind of play for their own sake?
I would say like again, I would say the answer honestly would be no. But I would say a manager and coach is useful if they want to be there and they want to help. If they're just feeling like they're checking off a box because the team has to have a manager or coach, then they can actively be a negative experience or a negative impact. So I would say, yes, it can work. Yes, they're very useful when they're there. I think maybe really wrapping up in the package of, hey, this is some useful life experience, like kind of leading a group, managing a group, assisting with a group, dealing with interpersonal conflicts, stuff like that. Most managers in like the T3, tier 2 and below scene were kind of like worthless and did nothing, which is kind of a bummer. But like you could in the collegiate scene, I'm sure there's a lot more responsibilities with communicating between the team and the college, and so there's probably like a lot more like actually useful skills that you develop from doing that. And the same thing as a coach too. So I think that there's value there, but I wouldn't necessarily say that every team should look to have a coach or manager. I think you could benefit from a coach or manager that wants to be there.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so I think it's time. It's got to be time. It is time to do the quiz. Now the quiz is very exciting.
I'm terrible at
because-
quizzes. I'm gonna
Well,
fail.
it's a quiz where you just have to give the answer and then we're going to find a solution for you because the quiz
Okay.
is none other than a mysterious ex Twitter poster called NewellTMZ, and it's his
Newell
quiz
TMZ.
or their
Okay.
quiz. Yeah, NewellTMZ, whatever. It's their quiz on which UK University Overwatch player are you?
Oh, I can do this one.
Okay,
So I
I'm
just have
going
to
to
answer questions. That's all.
So I'm going to ask you the questions. It's got your name on already. Don't worry, the viewers can see. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then we're going to find out. Here we go.
All right.
So
all right.
pick a meal to start with. It's
Pick a meal.
either milk in a bowl, day-old rice, Greg's sausage roll, Abo Marjed Master's cake, or dumplings.
I'm sorry. The what cake?
No, is it Abo Marjed? Have I said that wrong? I don't know what.
No,
the
I
language-
know.
No,
I
no,
know.
you
I have
said
a
that-
budget.
I understand the words. I don't
Wait,
understand what they mean
I'll
together.
try and find it. Have we not seen this cake? Volta, you've seen this cake, right?
I think I've seen
Can we just
this
stop with British people going, have you not done this food? I'm like, no.
No, it's not a British
My
thing.
food
It's
has-
not a British thing.
It's not a British
It's an
thing?
insane
Okay.
Twitter post. I'll put it in a new little chat.
Okay, we'll add this in post.
Yeah, I'll add it in post.
Okay. So, man, honestly, it feels like the least offensive thing for there might ironically, as if it was like refrigerated or something, maybe like day old rice. I'm not gonna lie with you guys. Like,
Okay.
I'm taking the coward's way out with this one.
Okay, I've locked in day-old rice.
Okay, it's a
pick
new little
bowl.
chat.
Yeah, but Spilo. Anyway.
Wait, you can't see that. I'll
anyway,
DM it to him.
No, I can. Yes. No,
Okay,
wait.
yeah,
Wait. I gotta give my final opinion on this. Hang on.
Okay. I could
Wait.
go back.
Okay. Wait. What? Abo Magic.
I need to see this.
Oh, it's an Abo Magic Masters cake. No, I'm definitely taking the day old rice. What on earth?
Okay. So here with next one. I can't believe I'm gonna have to say this out loud. Pick a role. You've got tank, hit scan, flex DPS, flex support, main support, sub, or dom. I didn't make the quiz. I'm just gonna clarify. People think that I'm NewellTMZ. I'm not NewellTMZ. I'm saying it now.
Yeah.
Pick a role.
That's exactly what Newell TMZ would say. Probably flex support or flex DPS. I think would be. I mean, historically played a little bit of both. I'm a big fan of both. Obviously, they're the highest. They're all the alpha chads. Like everyone goes like, oh, main tank's the alpha chad, but they're just saying that because they feel sorry for them. But everyone knows the flex DPS and the flex support are like the real chad roles. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Wait, so which one? It's gotta be one or the other.
Ah, frick, man.
Wait,
Flex
you should put
support.
DPS.
Flex support. I'll go flex support.
Flex support. Here we go. It's getting interesting. North or south? This will be North UK or South UK.
Wait, North UK, is that Wait,
So that's
I gotta
like
pull up a map.
Manchester up to Scotland, that kind of area.
That's
Scotland.
north. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So North UK is like Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, yeah, London, Liverpool. Yeah, so I think it's gotta be north. I'm technically quite Scottish in heritage, so it has to be north.
Okay, go with north. Go with north. Here we go. What do you think of console players? It's I am one. They are okay. I was one, or kiddie input in a derogatory way, which was a way I was described in a match once. Shout out to Stuffs, huge big fan.
Let's do the last one. Let's do the last one.
What
Kiddie
kiddie
input.
input derogatory?
Sure.
Oh, it's
You
over.
got kiddie
It's over.
inputted.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Okay.
Mm.
Pick a pet. Do you pick Winton, cat, other, thrall, or dog?
Wait, what was the fourth one?
Thrall.
Thrall. He's a Warwick University player.
Cat. Other. Probably. I don't know. I'll go with cat for now, I guess. But other, it depends on what the other would be.
Okay. There's not much difference between cat and thrall, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick a. Oh, I actually have to say these out loud. I really regret doing this.
This is your idea, man.
I'm so sorry, Spilo. Pick a new TMZ post. You won't know any of them. Who is new TMZ? The regular recap, the players tier list, or the twink tier list?
Definitely players tier list.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not gonna give. It's got to be Cager. Like, is it just not? Would it not be Cager? I see twink tier list. I'm like, oh, okay.
We got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
interested parties. I'll put it that way.
Okay, never mind then.
I gotta say, the players tier list was great. It was actually delusional. It had like 5 people in the wrong roles. It was brilliant.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
it was
That's
very
definitely Cager then.
controversial,
Mm.
and started a lot of conversations.
Oh god.
You've got one more question. Who is the best coach? Commander X, anyone but Cager, OC, Christopher, or homeless coaching?
Homeless coaching. Not even
There
a
it is.
moment of hesitation.
All right, are you ready? Here we go.
Yes.
You are the one, the only ex-Suti from the University of Nottingham. There you go.
Nice.
They're actually a scan DPS players, so bad luck.
Oh no.
Matt-
I don't even know how that happened. But...
Matt, I think you got
Well, it's
yourself.
like
Didn't
the
you?
other questions. Yeah, it was the other questions. I think I must have answered too correctly with the other ones.
I got Horrocks, so
I got myself because I said I said I was a console player. I think there were 2
Oh, I
options.
see. Yeah, you're in the quiz. Of course, you're gonna get yourself. That's how it works.
But there we go.
What a
Okay,
quiz.
you've
What a
done
work
the
of
quiz. You
art.
survived. That's truly one of the moments of all time. You won't regret that.
That was
I
beautiful. I'm in tears.
promise. Okay, so we're going to move on to the final bit, and as I've mentioned previously as well, because we're such an original and inventive podcast, we have something called. Actually, let me change the scene. We have something called Client of the Week. So, Spider, as our special guest, you can
Yes.
start us off. Who should be
Easy.
Client of the Week?
So we talk about the YouTube comment section, and I think YouTube comments get like a bad rap. I think in like smaller to medium sized channels, I think I'd be somewhere in there. They're really pretty interesting and useful to give some good feedback, have some interesting discussions. And then there's my recent video I did on the truth about 50-50 Overwatch, where we talk about like matchmaking, and I've talked with Gavin Winter, the senior guy for the matchmaking for Overwatch, and had a lot of conversations about their systems and the way it works, and like whether people get ranked and force 50-50 and one-sided matches. And I talked basically a lot about what I'd learned and some of my theory and my experience with like one-sided matches and why they happen in player psychology and like 5v5. And well, this comment section is probably the most brain rot I've ever had in a comment section ever, with the most hard stuck plat opinions, gaslighting, conspiracy theory nonsense that I have read since reading the Blizzard forums in 2017. It is really bad. Like the bar, I was not expecting, like I was expecting, because people are always going to blame anything. But it was worse than I expected, and the bar was already set pretty low. So I'm going to nominate my YouTube comment section for Client of the Week.
There we go. Do we have any other takers? Spec, Volta?
I think we could. Yeah, I think that's it. But shout out a previous Client of the Week winner one time. You know what you did.
Oh, that's ominous.
Nah, it's deservedly ominous, yes. Volta, and anyone else you want to shout out?
No. I think
Okay.
we've got a
We could
good
we could
enough
also nominate.
alpha.
We could do Hanzo players just to tick them off.
Yes. Actually, I'd like to not as the final client of the week. I'd like to nominate J9, who is a player from Warwick, and he decided to go on a great rant about how amazing it is now having Hanzo one shot, and it really got on my nerves. So
Yeah,
J9,
there you
shout
go.
out to you. I disagree with you on every point you made about Hanzo, but there we go. So there we go. I think we'll stick with your comment section as you are the
Sure.
you're the special guest.
I'll take it. I'll take
So
it.
there we go. Okay. Does anyone have, before I wrap up, has anyone got any final comments they want to make? Anything they want to say? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Can't think of anything, honestly. We've got freshers coming up, so a bunch of new people will be joining. Make sure you watch the podcast. It's the best thing that happens out of the UK. That's kind of it, though.
Like the video.
True.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I can't believe I've had to say this.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Donate blood. Send cash.
And okay.
That caught me off out left field.
Yeah. I'm boomed. Same for Spilo's channel. If you haven't already, I'm sure you already are. Most of you anyway. Go follow him on Twitter as well. I actually love reading your Twitter posts.
Just don't comment in my YouTube sections, please. Please just stop commenting.
No, we're an intellectual group here in the UK. We wouldn't possibly write any of those comments.
Surely.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you again. Thank you so much, Spilo, for coming on the podcast and taking the time. I'd like to thank Cager as well for helping set this up. Really appreciate him. And thank you to our other guests, Voltzer, Spec. Thanks for both being here.
Of course, had a great time.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the next episode of the UnNUELable podcast.